A good evening from sunny Seville. Absolute live reaction from the France-Senegal game that we've just watched. And really, Mbappe was the superstar, wasn't he, Ryan?
Absolutely unbelievable. A bit of a quiet first half made it little touches, but really turned it on in the second half. And as we mentioned, it's a historical moment for Mbappe, obviously eclipsing Giroud's all-time goal scoring record for the French national team, but also becoming France's all-time top goal scorer in the World Cup. So we felt necessary to jump on and have a little quick discussion.
And what a player he is. I think that makes 14 World Cup goals, so he's only narrowly behind now the original Ronaldo R9 and then closer with 16. And that's in 15 games for Mbappe, which is just absolutely staggering. I mean, hat trick in the World Cup final in his game prior to this. And now he scores two there. And the second one was an absolute rocket. So I think for me, that dispels a lot of the anti Mbappe propaganda before the World Cup, and maybe he will be the player of the tournament as he has been in others, to be honest.
Well, he's made a good start, and potentially at the sort of fall of Dembele, didn't seem that they were clicking. And when they moved Elise in the centre, Elise seemed to connect a lot better with Mbappe. You saw him go through a few times um, by an assist of Elise. So that's just one sort of curveball, I think, for France to navigate. How much do they try with the Dembele Mbappe situation, if we want to call it a situation, or do they go, based on what's working? And that Elise Mbappe link up was world class.
And as you say, it was the moment Bradley Barcola came on that almost changed the game as well. And it was the run off the ball from Barcola, which was fantastic to create that second goal that he finished with aplomb. I guess with Dembele, you can't really leave him out with the quality form that he has, but it's almost a case of Mbappe, Vinny fitting them in the same team. There must be a way to do it, but I don't think I agree. I don't think Dembele is best served as a 10. So whether you
Yeah,
play him and Mbappe interchanging positions might be an option. I think Elise is either going to be the 10 or the wide right. So it's a tricky one for Deschamps to navigate, really.
definitely. And then, how much game time do you give Jerky as well? Because I think he offers a slightly different dynamic. But what we can confirm is France had a lot of options in attack. But my only
Yeah.
question would be, and you saw it be exposed quite often, particularly in the first half, Senegal were able to get them on the break. And were it not for Mbappe's world class goal, the second one, it could have been back in the game, well back in the game. So that's the only doubt over France as a team. But you can't argue against that front line. It's absolutely incredible, and you don't want to be playing against the French team in this tournament because of that. Though I do think they're
Oh,
beatable
agreed.
with the right system. And that would be a system where you're defensively solid. Try and keep them as best you can quiet, and then do your thing in the attack and get a goal. But that's going to be a big ask for any nation.
Yeah, you make a good point there because they do look a little bit exposed in the middle of the park. Yeah, as you said before, Tuchemeni off a bit of a dicey season. Rabiot isn't a world class player for me. And then whether it's Cherki, whether it's Elise, whether it's Dembele, they probably will be reneging on some of the defensive duties. So if you put them against a top quality midfield, off the top of my head, I think Portugal, I think England, I think Argentina, will they really pin them down 3-on-2, even 4-on-2? Players drop back to dominate that midfield and then really just take charge. That will be interesting to see when France do come across the sort of world leading teams over the course of this tournament.
Yeah, I think the Norway game potentially could be quite interesting. And it might be the case that by that point, it's game number three in the group stage that they've already got through the groups, most likely. But I think Norway's setup would be to be very defensively solid and try and get them on the counter attack with the attacking threat of Haaland and Odegaard. So I think that potentially could be a very interesting test for France, and will give us a bit more insight into some of their weaknesses. But I mean, Senegal are no slouches. We said in our earlier predictions
Mm.
that they were one of the dark horses of the tournament. I thought they played quite well, really, what you'd expect. from a Senegal team, but just outclassed. And credit to Mbappe and credit to Elise as well. He won't get the plaudits, but he had a fantastic game. And if it wasn't for the two goals by Mbappe, Elise was probably man of the match there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting comparison across but Brazil's performance against Morocco, who are the, let's say, the joint, to avoid controversy, the joint best African team, and then France's performance against Senegal. And Brazil toiled and laboured, and it was only Vini's moment of brilliance really that got them that draw. Whereas today we have seen moments of brilliance from Mbappe, but we've also seen a well-structured team that can create the second goal, can play together, has options off the bench as well. And I think it's quite an interesting dichotomy between France and Brazil, and why many people, us included, feel that France are a better side than some of their South American counterparts. So I think as the tournament unravels, I'm fascinated just to see how the team gels over time. Will they continue in this vein and so forth?
Indeed, and it's interesting on Mbappe as well. He's still quite young, isn't he? Is he 27? So he's still got
Yeah.
a lot of seasons in his legs, and he's been doing it for Real Madrid. If he can sort of maybe start winning a few more Champions League, potentially make a move in the future to the EPL, you then start to think, well, is he the all-time greatest, or certainly amongst the all-time greatest strikers? And we always made the comparisons, didn't we, early on in his career to Thierry Henry, and arguably Mbappe in a French shirt has been more influential than Henry, and he scored more, of course, and the stats don't lie. So, you know, it's that's an interesting debate in itself, Henry or Mbappe, but the stats are probably in Mbappe's favour.
But they are, and I mean, he could really smash this World Cup record, goal scoring record, with interest as well. So their next game is against Iraq. There's no reason that he won't start that game. So could quite easily get another brace or even a hat trick from there. And then he could get 6 or 7 goals this tournament, as you say, at 27, possibly 2 tournaments left for Mbappe, really, at very least one. So he'll be in the 20s in theory for goal scoring. And then who are his rivals for the record? Well, Messi was above him before this game, but is clearly Messi's last tournament. And as of young players coming through, well, Kane's the only one with 8 goals, and Lukaku's got a few as well. But there's no real obvious pretenders to Mbappe's crown or throne to be the man of the World Cup era. So I'm very looking forward to seeing what unfolds for Kylian here.
Yeah, I mean, Vinny did quite well. He scored an important goal for Brazil, but sort of Mbappe sort of shot that one and eclipsed that. So, yeah, fair play to him. And to be fair, in the start of the game in the tunnel, I don't know, there was a bit of an aura about him as they were sort of lining up with his captain's armband. He was super focused. There was a part to him that I thought, an edge that I probably haven't seen before. So um, it's really his tournament now to actually steal and run away
Yeah.
with. And there's no doubting that after that performance, I think France are the favourites, despite my predictions of England going all the way. Which leads me nicely actually to a bit of a trivia, I guess. So how many of these French players would get into the England side? Oh, well, it's probably easier actually to choose how many England players would get into that French side today. So
That's a
hand
good
over to you.
question. So I guess if we're going man for man, Pickford in terms of international duties is hard to deny, and Pickford's
Mm.
always been a reliable stalwart for England. So I think he has more experience than Magnan there. So I'd go Pickford. In defence, for me, it's probably only Johnny Stones that gets a look in at that French back forward. I don't know how you would see it, Ryan, but Koundé's been quality for Barca for quite a few years now. Hernandez has good experience at left back, clearly over O'Reilly, and then you're not going to look past your mate Saliba, are you?
Absolute rock. No, yeah, he's the Rolls Royce. Yeah, maybe you could have arguments about Reece James over Koundé. I mean, with Reece James, it's slightly frustrating, certainly if you're a Chelsea fan. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, he was shaping up to be, the one of the best right backs in the world, and I still think he is. He's just been very struck by injuries, hasn't he? So you'll be hard pressed to put him ahead of Koundé, though I don't think Koundé is the best in the world, but certainly top five. But then as we go into midfield, I think that's where actually the French team has its weakness. Um, and I think Declan Rice would easily get into that team. And then it
Mm.
depends how you want to play it in terms of fitting as many England players in that squad as possible. I think we'll struggle to get any in the top four positions at the head of the field, but you potentially could drop Bellingham and have Rice and Bellingham in the middle.
Yeah, you'd have to play around with it, wouldn't you? Because I'd probably play Bellingham as an 8 in this team. For the sake of argument, we're not looking at the defensive frailties necessarily, but I'd play Rice as a 6, Bellingham as an 8. I think it's impossible to deny Kane with his 61 goals in the Bundesliga plus almost 80 goals for England. So I'd actually play Kane as the 9, but dropping back. I'd play Mbappe left, Dembele right, and Elise in behind, and then the two Kane drops back, and they're almost like Diaz and Elise for
Yeah,
Bayern, put going into the space he creates. Yeah, that would be a phenomenal team in my opinion. How about you?
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, the Kane and Mbappe one is difficult after that game. I think prior to today, I would have said Kane,
Yeah,
but after that performance, could Kane pull that kind of goal off? I'm not so sure, but he's obviously a different type of striker. Um, but certainly on the wings, you can't look much further than Elise and Doué on the left. So um, yeah, I think the French team probably have it by seven
yeah,
players, maybe
they
six
do.
if you can squeeze.
They do. They do. And yeah, that this is what we're going to do over the course of the tournament. So any big games, we'll come and bring live reaction straight hot off the pulse as well to give all of our subscribers and listeners exactly what they deserve and need from us in terms of content. So we'll film this and then we'll please do like and subscribe to all of our stuff. It does really help us. We're on Spotify, Best of Rivals. We're on YouTube, Best of Rivals podcast. We've also got the Instagram loaded now and a TikTok. So please do like, subscribe, comment on the content as much as you please as well. And we look forward to hearing from you ASAP. Thanks very much.